If you want to hear something crazy, TrackLib conducted a study where they found that 90% of music producers never make it to full-time. Of the 10% that actually made it, it took them on average 10 years to even be able to leave their jobs. So what's the main reason why most producers fail? It's because they have the inability to sell at a high level. Once you know how to sell, this unlocks your ability to make tens of thousands of dollars per year selling beats online. And in this video today, I'm going to pull back the curtain on all of my secrets to sell with calls because I hosted a live Zoom event that was only available privately until recently, where I give away all of my secrets entirely for free. So sit back and enjoy this live event and make sure you have a pen and paper to take notes with. And if you want one-on-one help from me privately, I could set up a validated offer that sells at $1,000 or more, set up a lead generation pipeline that feeds you serious artists every single day, and to be able to give you the support to implement everything you're about to see in this video. So if you want that, go to the link in the description or the pinned comment, book a free roadmap call with me, and I'll talk with you soon. Now make sure that you have a pen and a paper for the live event, and there's a live Q&A at the end, so make sure you stay tuned for that as well. Here's the video. Once again, welcome. This is how to make 1,000 to 2,000 every week. Not just 1 week, but every week using Zoom calls. And so what you're gonna learn, some pretty cool stuff in it. So I'm excited to show you like all of my secrets today. So I'm gonna reveal to you guys like why, even though, I mean, like guys, I won a Grammy this year, platinum selling. I don't make any money from that. I make all of my money using this method. So I don't make a cent off of placements. So I call it the rapid sales system. You may have already heard me say that. If you haven't, then this is my system, and there's a sneak peek of what it is. It's a 4-step process, and some producers use a similar process, okay? And they come out with nothing, while 6 of my students have used these secrets to pull in 2,000 or more deals in just a single week. Like Jeremy, he landed a $2,500 deals in a month, got to 6K in revenue. Thello had a 5-figure day. He landed a 10-song album for 10K, ended the month over 13K in revenue. And I say that like very conservatively. It's closer to 20. Cade, I took him from 40 followers to 330. So this is when we weren't even done yet. We're getting $1,500 deals. You know, he brought in 2,400 in a week in my mastermind. All right. Billy, he's recently joined. So he's been in for about 60 days now. So in the last 30 days, 30-ish days or so, has had $5,000 plus deals. Ian got a $2,000 deal, $1,000 deal there. David has got 3K in the first month, got a $2,000 deal, or a little bit over. And then many, many more have helped to get their first $1,000 weeks, but those are the 6 I've helped to get to $2,000 weeks. Okay, so you're going to leave this presentation knowing exactly what they know, which is how to win in 2025. And this is without leaving your bedroom studio, and you can go full time. So you can see like, you know, I just had like a little bedroom studio. I've been full time since 2020. Okay, so this is without relying on views or algorithms, needing 1,000 plus followers, any clout placements, credits, following up to get paid, waiting months for cash, which I've done all of these things. So it sounds too good to be true, right? And I expect you to call BS on some of this stuff, but I'm going to back it up with proof. So while this sounds amazing, it's not a magic bullet where you just click a button and get paid. So there's some prerequisites that you need in order to make this work, have it work for you. So you have to be an amazing producer. So if you're like really below average, or like you're just a hobbyist, but no one's ever told you they like that they like your beats, or you don't feel like they're good enough to sell, or your mixes are off, or your sound selection is bad, or you're just not good enough yet. Like that's fine, but don't expect to make 2,000 in a week. I think that's pretty obvious. Okay, so that's like a prerequisite. And then here's the genres that sell the best. So if you make pop, that's going to sell. R&B sells like crazy. Melodic rap. So if you're thinking like the guitar type of Kid Leroy type stuff, Juice WRLD type stuff, sells really well. And then soulful sample beats, J. Cole, Kendrick, that type of thing. And then OVO type stuff. So if you're thinking Toronto sound, whether it's like the R&B or the trap or the samples up there, like the OVO type stuff sells really well. So pick something in that genre that you can do and you like doing. But if you absolutely hate all of these, then don't worry. It's like this may not be the strategy for you if you're doing stuff like Rage or drill or something like that. So you got to be able to speak English fluently, and then you have to sell to US, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, or otherwise known as the Big Five. I've helped one of my clients to sell in his home country, which was the Netherlands, and it worked, but it was really difficult. So I'd rather sell where it's easier for people to buy from you. Okay, it just makes it easier on you. And so if you're trying to be like super lazy, I mean, that's fine, whatever your prerogative is, but this is not for lazy producers. Like if you're just trying to make a beat a week and just like expect it to sell and not do anything, like put in 5 minutes a day, then you might stick with YouTube because this is not that. Okay. So you got to have 3 or 4 hours a day outside of your 9 to 5. So for me, when people say like I'm too busy, like I don't have 3 hours a day, I mean, Billy, like he has a family and he does this part time and made 6,000 in a month. Okay. So like find the time, like sacrifice something if you have to. Okay. So if you're missing any of these, you're not willing to do any of these, probably not a good fit for you. I just want to disclaim that because I'm not trying to turn anybody into something they don't want to be. All right. So what we're going to cover today, how Dell booked 5 qualified calls last week, step by step, how to qualify artists financially in simple form, how Ian got a 2K deal, Dell got a $1,000 paid in full. I'm going to show you how to do paid in full deals using the 3 advanced sales concepts, which we'll cover, how to collect cash live on the call. All right. So what I hate most is just people who talk just to talk. There's no action steps. So let's get into it. So I'm going to show you the action steps. So this was Othello's calendar. He booked 12 calls. He closed 5, and they were all like 1,500 to 10,000. So he made a bunch of money. That was in a month. Like he had like a $12,000 day-ish type of stuff. So this is how you're going to book calls. So artists are not going to get on sales calls unless they trust you, okay? So if you believe that they get on calls with untrustworthy profiles, then think again, all right? So just think about it for a minute. When's the last time you ever bought anything or engaged with someone who you did not trust? It's probably never happened. So I get them to trust me, be open to being sold to by doing what I call a triage call first. So to get them into position to sell, if you're selling to strangers, you need to do what's called a triage call. And you might say, like, what's a triage call? I don't know what triage even means. So it's a medical term, and I promise I'm going to bring this full circle. It means assessment of a patient in order to determine what care they need. Okay, what's required. So the whole goal is to ask questions. So if you ever get admitted into a hospital, they don't go and send you into surgery. That would be irresponsible. They have to ask the right questions. So the whole goal is for you to be put in the power position by asking the right questions. And what this is going to do is the person in sales, this is just a philosophy. The person who asks the best questions and the person who asks the questions in general controls the entire conversation. So now that you know what a triage is for, it's a tool that you use to develop sales calls, to get interest. Here's the structure and exactly what you should be saying. So shouldn't last anywhere less than 20 minutes or over 45 minutes. If it's under 20 minutes, trust factor is going to be too low. If it's over 45 minutes, it means you're just trying to be their friend. You're just trying to be their buddy. So just keep in mind, you're not trying to only be friends with the artist. That's just a plus if it happens. You're trying to solve problems, because if you're not solving a problem, if you're not like getting them something that they actually really want or that they need, then you're going to be wasting both of your time. Okay, so structure is going to be rapport. Then you're going to overview what's going to go happen on the call. Then you're going to go over what their goal is, where their pain points are, and then you're going to pitch. And so a lot more verbiage pops up on the screen, so let me explain. When I do rapport, a lot of people spend hours doing rapport. We're like in their DMs messaging them for like hours. Don't do that. Like whenever I see people do that, I'm like, hey, you already developed rapport in like 10 minutes. Okay, so rapport is just to get them comfortable speaking with you. So you shouldn't last more than 2 to 10 minutes at the most. So that's going to be like, where are you located at? What are you interested in? Do you have an active music scene like that out there? Are you working online mostly? That's what's going to be rapport. And if you guys ever do a strategy call with me, I'm going to do the same thing because I'm like genuinely interested in people, but those are the questions that get like rapport going. Because otherwise, it's like if we just jump onto a call and you immediately hop into it, the person's going to feel like it's unnatural. They got to get warmed up first. Okay, so it's like just starting your car and then moving it. You want to give it a second to warm up so it's going to run better. It's the same thing. So that's what rapport is. About 2 to 5 minutes is what I'd usually take, and then I'll dive into the call. Now, once you get onto the call with them, they have no idea why they're there. So you need to overview everything. So you're like, hey, I'm not really selling anything on this call. I just wanted to hop on and go over your goals because I know you're a really dope artist. Just wanted to get to know you a little bit better. And if this call like goes really well and you actually do want to work with me or something like that, we can do a Zoom call and preview some beats. Okay, so you just let them know what's going to happen, and if they know they're not being sold to, what happens is they go from this where I don't know if you guys can see me, but like if your shoulders are like all hunched up and you're like I'm hyperventilating, I don't know what's happening, I'm scared, to like, oh, I'm comfortable talking to Kobe or talking to whoever, and I want to get to know them and I want to talk to them. So by letting people know what's going to happen, it's going to ease their minds so that they drop their guards. Because if their guard hasn't dropped, they're not going to be honest with you. And if they're not honest with you, you can't sell to somebody who's dishonest. Okay, so if you guys are tracking with me, the next step is going to be the goal. So I go goal first. You can start with trying to get pain too, but like in sales, if there's no pain, there's no real sell typically. With selling music, it's a little bit different. You can sell just based off of what their goal is and trying to fit that. But typically what happens is if you're on a spectrum, you start with the goal and you put a pin there. Like, where are they trying to go? Like, what's your plan for rolling out music? How many songs do you have written right now? In the short term, like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get more followers? Are you trying to get more fans? Are you trying to get more promotion? What is your goal? Are you trying to improve your brand? Trying to find your sound? And then long term, what are you trying to do as an artist? Like, what's the end game? Are you trying to do this full time? Do you just like making music to make music? Do you want to get into sync, songwriting? So you ask them where they want to go. And artists love talking about themselves. Okay. So like, I'm incredibly shy, introverted. I ask them 3 questions and they'll tell you what you need to know to be sold on. Like if you go in and talk, they might be like, oh, like he's nervous, or like he seems a little bit weird, you know? So, or she or whoever, but if they're talking, they're going to be more comfortable, right? So just ask them questions about themselves and they'll open up. So figure out what their goal is. And so you have a pin there. Now you bring it back and you're like, well, where are you at right now? Like, I know you said you wanted to come out with 5 songs this year. I was on your Spotify. I only saw 1 that's released. Like, so what's keeping you from getting to 5? And you're trying to figure out like the most painful parts for them. What kind of struggles, obstacles, problems do they have with getting it released? So remember how I said that they're paying you to solve a problem. So if you're like a custom beat producer, that's the easiest problem to solve. Like they don't have somebody who can personally customize beats for them. So you're going to ask questions like, have you ever had a personal producer before? And like, oh yeah, I used to work with this one guy, da 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 da. Then you're like, oh, you used to work with him? So like what happened? You guys not working anymore? You're digging for pain. Okay. So if you don't get any pain, then you're just going to focus more on their goals and where they want to go. You just got to get clear. If you don't get clear on either pain or goals, what kind of obstacles you're going through, it's going to be very hard to form a solution for something that you're already fuzzy on. So be clear about it. All right. And I'm going to show you how to ask questions in a second too. But at the end, pitch. Like you have to pitch the second call. The second call is the sales call. You're not selling anything on this call. But if you don't pitch on this call, like I would have students where I'm like, they're like, I had the best conversation ever. The artists, they really love my music. Like they love my brand. They love my style. I like the artist. I'm like, cool. So when is your sales call happening? They're like, oh, well, I just kind of felt off about it, so I didn't pitch. If you don't pitch, you can't make any money. And you're pitching them on something for free, so you shouldn't feel any pressure to do it. And you're like, well, I don't know if they want to buy from me or not. Then you're shooting yourself in the foot because you're disqualifying yourself. So let them disqualify you. Okay? So if you ever get stuck Ask these two questions. Why is that? And what do you mean? So let's start with why is that? So like if you ask them what their goal is and they say like, I want to get to 10,000 followers. And you're like, okay, well, I guess why is that? Because if you're confused or if you're unsure on what question to ask, just say like, okay, like, well, I guess why do you want to get to 10K though? Like, what's the importance behind that? And then they're going to justify it with a reason. All right. And then the next question is, what do you mean? So if they say something that's unclear, like if you're like, so have you ever worked with like a producer or did you like want custom beats? And they're like, yeah, I want a beat that's like an acapella or something that sounds confusing. And you're like, well, instead of moving to the next question, just be like, I guess what do you mean by that? And now they're going to tell you exactly what you need. So they gave you some content, they gave you some words, but you didn't know what the context was. So always get the context. All right. So this is going to allow them to tell you what they mean instead of you just assuming something and then blowing up the call. So 1 out of 2 are going to take you up on the sales call. So you're never going to get 100%. One of my students today, though, he's getting 100%. So every triage he gets on, it turns into a sales call, which is crazy, but it can happen. Okay. And then another one of my students, Dell, who I'm going to talk about a little bit, he's booking 5 calls a week. And he actually has, he's booking 5 sales calls, not 5 triages. But he's got like 6 or 4 to 6 this week as well. Okay. So it's a lot. So aim for 1 triage a day. So if you have 1 quick call with the artist for like 20 minutes in evening, try to get 1 every evening. And then you're going to have 3 to 4 sales calls a week because it's going to divide in half. So it's going to go from 7 to 3 to 4. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. So once you learn sales skills, you'll get 1 sale per week. So my students close from anywhere from 25% to 67% of their calls turn into sales. So like I had a student make 1,400 last week. All right. So charge $1,000 or more and you'll make at least 4,000 a month. So on the triage, here's all you need to focus on. All you need to focus on is, did you figure out what their goal is and what their struggle is? Did you pitch at the end of the call? And do they like, know, trust you enough to be open to buying from you specifically? So if you haven't done all of these things, then don't wrap the call up, right? So if you get to the end of the call and you're just like, wow, that was a great call. Like I got to talk to a great artist, but you didn't do these 3 things, then you need to focus in on these. All right. So just want to make sure you guys are getting this. That's the most important thing. Everything else comes second. These are the 3 things that come first. So to book calls, use Calendly. If you guys haven't heard of this, it's a free software. You can just go to calendly.com, sign up for free. It's amazing. It's amazing. So all my students use it. It's free, integrates with Zoom, Google Meets, just your phone. So when I first got my $13,000 a month, I was just taking calls, not even on Zoom, just with the phone. So I would have it set up to where it would book a call with the number, then I would call them, and I would just be sitting in bed, like, watching TV on mute, closing $1,000 deals, right? So it was pretty cool. Like you can do it. So don't feel the need to use Zoom. Zoom is like $15.99 a month. I usually recommend using that because it's like a household name. But Google Meets works just as well. It's absolutely free. Okay. So let's move on to the more interesting stuff. At least I think it's more interesting. That might have been boring to you. But here's how to qualify the artist financially with a simple form. So just to be clear, if you're really, really good at sales, you can skip this. So like I've had sales training. I paid so much money it would make you sick to learn how to do sales. And then I've had sales jobs as well, like appointment setting, sales training. And so I'm pretty good at sales and I usually will skip this. But I guarantee you that you're not that good at sales if you're watching this right now. Like if you're already a beast and you're making 8,000 a month, then you probably don't need to pay any attention to me, right? So don't skip this if you're not a great salesperson. A qualifying form makes sure that you don't get onto a call with someone who's not interested in paying. Not somebody, like, you won't know how much money is in their bank account, but you'll know that, hey, this person is interested in paying me, which is better than someone who's not interested, right? So we're just identifying that. So you're going to include questions about beats, not just money, because otherwise it's going to look like all you care about is just draining their pockets, right? That's not what we care about. We like want to make sure we're helping them as well. But that's to make sure they don't get suspicious. So here's what I ask. What kind of beats do you need? What kind of elements are you looking for in the beats? So that's going to be all the things you're good at. Don't put stuff you're bad at. Put stuff you're good at. And 3, are you able to invest in music right now? Like, do you have a budget right now? Do you have a budget currently? 4, if everything sounds good on the call, can you put down a deposit? So that's going to be more of a yes or no. So you can use multiple choice, like the radio button type things, or you can use essay questions, which means they have to write out longer responses. So essay questions get the most in-depth responses. Multiple choice is easier, so more end up booking. So the question is, when should you use essay? When should you use multiple choice, right? It depends. So if you're getting a lot of calls where they're just like, oh, I'm broke, oh, I'm broke, I'm broke, then use essay questions so that you can get a better read on them if they're like really serious, if they have money or not when it comes to budget related stuff. Now, if you're not getting enough bookings, like a lot of people say they want to do sales calls, but none are actually booking, then just use multiple choice. So that's going to be more freer flowing, so people can just tap and get through the application, and you'll have less people fall off, so you have more people book. I recommend essay so that your application does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So for something that's a yes or a no question, feel free to put yes or no, but if you want more information, put an essay there so that it can be a little bit of a hybrid, but that way you're getting a lot of good information and you can tell if you want to take the call or not. If you don't want to take it, like if it's like the worst application in the world, just go and let them know like, hey, it's probably not a good fit right now, and then you can just cancel it. Okay. In Calendly, you can add in the questions there. So what's cool about that is you can make them required to answer. Because if you don't, like I guarantee you, they're strangers, right? You don't know these people, so they're not going to answer the form. So make sure they're required. So Calendly's free. I've used Typeform too. It's $29 a month. It's more like advanced and powerful, but all you need is Calendly. All right. So now that we have all of the boring stuff out of the way, I'm going to show you powerful persuasion tactics that I learned from my mentor. And last month, like he showed me his bank statement, like he made 7 figures in a month. Okay. He's made as much as multiple 7 figures in a month. So I paid him $10,000 between this year and last year to show me all of this, and I'm giving it away to you guys for free. All right. So that's why I'm saying, like, take some notes on this. This is really important stuff. So these are the 3 secrets of high ticket sales. And what I consider high ticket is anything that costs $1,000 or more. Really, $1,500 or higher is going to be your high ticket range. So you can see, like, Ian, he shot me a text and was like, hey man, like, using these tactics that I'm about to show you guys, this is getting me comfortable, confident. I'm getting more sales. Like, he was killing it. Okay. And then this is Manic down here. And this was after our second coaching session. And we scaled to almost 3,000 a month with him for just 45 days. And he wasn't even selling something that expensive. All right. He was only selling it for $350. So we kind of butted heads on changing the price, but made a lot of money fast. So here's what I'm going to show you. The first secret is what I call foreshadowing. So if you know, like in movies where they hint at something that's going to happen, like you see someone drop something or you see the camera pan a certain direction and they show you a detail, but you don't know its significance, but you know it's important. It's foreshadowing. So examples like the top in Inception, if you've seen that movie, it plays a key role in explaining the meaning of the movie. In The Dark Knight, Harvey Dent says you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Foreshadowing. So it gives you details that you know are going to become relevant later. So you're like, why the heck are you telling me this? Like, why does this apply to selling beats? So the reason is because I call it framing the call. So what I'll say is this, and like, feel free to screenshot this. I say on the call, we'll preview beats, see if any are a good fit. Because I want to make sure I'm not giving you trash beats. I want them to be perfect for what you have going on. I try to pick out 5 that you want for sure. But if they're all terrible, then hey, like no worries. We can still be friends at the end of the call. If they all sound perfect, then cool. We can move forward and get started today. Okay. So we're framing the call. We're foreshadowing. So I'll try to stay away from maybes, I don't knows, I'll think about it, because that's not really going to help us make more music, if that makes sense. And then they're going to say, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So you get the micro commitment there, and then you seal it by saying, cool. So is it fair to say yes or no at the end of the call? Because honestly, either way, it doesn't really matter to me. I just want to make sure that we can say yes or no and that I'm just doing my job the best way possible. Then they're going to say yes. Don't move forward until they say yes. So what you're getting is security that they can make a decision at the end of the call. Yes or no. So what you're doing is you're hinting at what's going to happen so you keep the artist informed, number one. And two, it's going to prepare them to financially invest at the end of the call. So they'll actually open up their pocketbook instead of being like, you know what, actually, I don't want to pay anything today. So that's why we have the form and that's why we have the frame. So common misconception, sales is not about getting money. It's about getting a yes or a no. So if the artist is, their yes is their no and their no is their yes, they're being dishonest. Like, this isn't going to work. So don't skip the frame or you're going to skip out on being paid, essentially. So second secret, and I don't want to gloss over that first one. Like, that's incredibly important. If you're missing that, you miss the whole presentation. So second secret is persuasion versus convincing. So I learned this from Myron Golden. A lot of us think persuading and convincing are the same thing, but they're actually total opposites. So if here's like a better concept to understand. So convincing is getting someone to make a decision that you want them to make for your reasons. But persuading is getting someone to make a decision that they want to make, they already want to make for their reasons. You see the difference between you and they? So most of your friends, most of your family members, probably you, and even I am guilty of trying to convince people to make decisions that they don't want to make. So we spend all this time, all this energy. We're sending them articles on like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. And they have no interest in it. It doesn't change their frame of how they live their lives. But what we should be doing instead is asking them questions to figure out what they really want and what they really need. Because if you're trying to change human behavior, this is how it works. So if you guys want to know how it works, human beings do things for one reason and one reason only. Because they feel like it. So that, again, this is what I learned from Myron Golden. So he's a serial entrepreneur. But this has changed the game for me when I discovered this concept. It allowed me to start selling like crazy. I went from selling like 10% of my calls to 40%. It's insane. The easiest way to sell is not by selling what you want to sell. It's by creating an environment where they want to buy. So instead of trying to sell basketballs with a PowerPoint demonstration, so if I'm trying to tell you like, this basketball has the best seams, it has the best leather, it bounces the best. That's not what's going to sell a basketball. If I take it to a basketball court and the players use it and they say, wow, this is the best basketball I've ever used, they're probably going to buy it. If you want to sell more hot dogs, instead of trying to come up with a special sauce and a special bun and a special promotional campaign, all you have to do is find a starving crowd outside of a baseball stadium. Right? It's a lot easier than you think. You're focused on the wrong things. So to apply this to beats, you need three things to get the sale. Okay. So you need certainty in the beats, certainty in what you're offering, and trust that you can deliver on your promise. And we're not covering offers and pillars and all that stuff in this demonstration. It's focused on just the sales section. So if you need more info on that, just let me know. But you need them to be certain that they like your beat specifically. You need them to be certain that what you're offering solves their problem and that they trust you to deliver on what you're promising with your problem solving ability. Okay. So here's how you get certainty in the beats. After each beat you preview, ask them how they feel. Like, they're going to make purchase decisions with the feeling based emotional side of their brain, not the logical, callous part of the brain. Because if you think about it, like, the only reason somebody buys a Mercedes, the only reason somebody buys a yacht, the only reason somebody invests a lot in a home, it's because of how they feel about it, right? They have an emotional attachment, and then they're going to justify it with logic. So whenever I bought, like, you might see guitars behind me. So I'm like, man, like, I really wish I had a Fender Stratocaster. And so I start looking and researching. I'm like, oh, like, I need this because it has special electronics. I'll be able to make different kinds of beats. I'll be able to invoke more emotion. But in reality, it's because of how I feel about it. It's not really the logical side of things. And so you need to get on that side of the fence to get people to buy. So I call this a temperature check. So if they don't like the beat, you're like, hey, how do you feel about it? They're like, I don't really like it. You're like, okay, cool. Well, ask them what they didn't like about it. Was it the tempo? Were the drums not hitting the way you want? Was it, did it not have the right kind of accents and textures that you're looking for? And so that way you can pick out better beats. Don't just blindly play beats. Play them what they want to hear, not what you want. Okay? So if they like it, then ask them if they can write to it. So you're like, okay, you think you can write to this one? They're like, yeah, I can write to it. Okay, do you think it's a for sure? You think it's a maybe, or is it like, nah, I can't really use it? Like, where are you kind of at? So now you're getting specifics. So if they say, I can write to it for sure, you're like, okay, cool. You want me to set that to the side? And then you're going to put on your phone like a list of the beats that they want. And then I just put a check mark by it. All right. So if they think it's a maybe, I'll write it down and then just throw it in for free at the end of the call. But if it's a no, then just don't play beats like that. All right. So this is going to ensure they have 100% confidence in your beats. You don't want somebody who just says like, this one's fire. This one's amazing. I like this beat. But then they weren't really planning to actually buy it. They're just a fan. They're not actually going to use it. So you have to make sure they're actually going to implement and use your beats. After you pitch your beat leases or custom beat package or your mix package or whatever you're selling, do not share the price. Do not share the price until you know the artist is a 10 out of 10 on what they need. They know that this is going to solve their problem. So if you have certainty in the beats and you think it's going to be a sale, and then you say like, yeah, so it's $1,000, and then you get this stuff, immediately they're going to back out because you weren't sure about what they need. So they're like, oh yeah, I didn't need a custom beat. All I needed was one beat. I don't even need a whole pack. And so because you didn't know what they want and what they need, you're going to pitch something that doesn't solve their problem, and then they're going to feel like you weren't listening. So you need to actively listen and pitch them what they want. So you ask them questions, they tell you what you want, and then you pitch that thing. So as long as you can deliver on it, ethically, you can go ahead and pitch whatever that they want. And as long as you can deliver on it, you'll get the sale, right? If they have the money to pay for it. So if you share the price before they're certain, they won't buy. To sum up this section specifically, ask them questions to figure out if they want to buy what you want to sell. And if they don't, then sell something different. Either sell something different or just let them know like, hey, it's probably not a good fit, right? All right, so then if they want what you have, get them to buy. This is the most important part. So when I told you like Ian got a $2,000 deal on just mixes alone, no beats. So he just sold $2,000 worth of mixes. That's pretty crazy, right? So it's what they already want to do. You got to keep in mind, like Persuasion, it's what they already want to. You're offering them what they want already. And so what Ian is a beast at is pushing them to do what they want to do. You don't want to push them to do what you want to do. If you're like, all I want is a sale, then don't get into doing sales calls, because you're going to get frustrated, because most people won't buy from people who just want to sell. They can smell it on your breath that all you want is a sale. Okay. So once they buy it and say, hey, what you're offering, this is exactly what I need. This is exactly what I want. Then you can start to push them to buy. And what I mean is like, don't put pressure on them externally. You're not trying to sweat them out until they purchase from you. You're not trying to manipulate them to do what you want them to do. Let them apply the pressure. So the pressure should come internally. It shouldn't feel like you're pushing on them. So internal pressure is the driving force behind a human being's decision making. Here's how we apply pressure. You're going to say things like, yeah, I remember like on the last call, I know you said you wanted to drop an EP this year, and you were needing it done in 2 months, right? They're like, yeah, I need it done in 2 months. You're like, oh, okay, got you. Wow, man, honestly, that's like 60 days. We're kind of getting close to the end of this month too. Is that making it a little bit tough to get everything rolled out on time? What are they going to say? They're like, yeah, man, honestly, it's been tough. Like, I'm just trying to line up the right production. I feel like I need to start moving a little bit faster, right? So they start applying pressure to themselves. You're not pressuring them, right? You're not saying you need to do this. You're asking them what they feel like they need to do. When it's their decision, they're going to move. Okay. So you're going to be like, yeah, I know you said you had like a personal producer before. Like, hey, sorry to hear that, they kind of left you hanging, man. I know you said like they moved states and you're not able to produce for them. They were doing what you wanted, but you're not able to work with them anymore. But I guess like what makes you think maybe this time around, if you were to work with me, that it would be any different than working with them? And now they have to sell themselves on working with you and qualify themselves on working with you instead of you qualifying and selling yourself to them. So that's the best way to do it. Okay. Last question. An example of what you could say. So they might say like, yeah, honestly, I studied Ryan Leslie. Like I want to get some fans. If I get 100 fans, then I'll be able to sell 100 pieces of merch, 100 tickets. I'll be able to get 100 pre-saves. Like, cool. Well, I guess what happens if you don't get to 100 super fans by the end of the year? What happens then? And what happens is they're going to let you know the worst case scenario because you already know where they want to go. But when they paint it, that's going to allow you to sell a lot easier. Like they have the motivation now, they have the internal pressure to move forward, and you don't have to pressure them. Okay. So that's some things that you want to do because, okay, so here's something that's not even in the presentation. When you get to the end of the call and you present the price, in sales, there's things called objections, but you don't want there to be objections. You want there to be logistics. Logistics are things you can figure out. Objections are reasons why it's not going to work. It's like, hey, like we can't work because I object to this. I don't want to do this, right? You don't want objections. You want logistics. So address all of the problems you could possibly have before you pitch the price so that all you're left with is logistics. And if you can figure that out, then you end up getting paid. All right. So that's a little caveat. So now they're going to qualify themselves by answering you. So instead of you being desperate and trying to like talk yourself into a sale, which you can't do, you'll be able to look like you're in the power position. You know what you're doing. You're calm, and it's going to lead to a lot more sales. All right. So that is persuasion versus convincing. Last one. This is my favorite one. Is aid. And like, every time I do one of these, like I'm scared of giving away all the value almost. I'm like, you know what? Like I might be giving away too much sauce. Like honestly, like this is the stuff, guys. All right. So you can see in the top left, like one of my students got a $600 sale all at once. Another student got $1,500 down below. This is using this process. If you don't use this process, you don't know how to sell. So, this is the most simplified version that I've ever come up with so that you can apply it immediately. So AID is an acronym and it turns no's into yeses. Stands for agree, isolate, double, tie down. And I'm going to explain all those in a second. So it comes into play after you drop the price. So you've addressed all of the things they could have objected to. You're feeling good about dropping the price. And really the only problem could probably be money. All right. That's the only problem you want. So you're like, it's just 1,000. It's just 2,000. It's just 3,000, whatever your price is. So when the artist says, yeah, man, honestly, I don't feel like I can do 1,000. Maybe I can get you next Friday though. Or I'll have to come back next month, when I get a couple of paychecks and then I might be able to do it. All right. So when they say that, the objection comes up, the financial objection. Step one is to agree. So you're like, yep, definitely understand it's a lot. Isolate, step two. Other than money, is there anything else holding us back from moving forward right now? Step three is to double tie down. So the first tie down was like isolating, what's the problem? Is it this or is it that? Now they say like, no, it's just money. Cool. So if we figure out a payment plan that works for you, can we get started? So that's double tying it down. So if you don't go through this process, then you're not going to be able to get sales. I just will guarantee it. Okay, I've done hundreds of sales calls. So these are the magic words. These are the magic words. But you can't just say words and expect people to hand you over a credit card. Okay? You need to say it the right way. And not only the right way, like the saying it the right way consists of two different things, the right tone and the right pace. Okay, so I'll demonstrate the pacing now. So if I'm going to do agreeing, isolating, double tie down. So I'm like, yep, you can get 2 beats for just $2,000 and they come custom. So they're gonna say like, got it, Kobe. So man, like I really want to work with you, but I don't think I can swing 2,000. Oh yeah, no worries, man. I definitely get it. I guess were the beats the issue, or was it just the money side? See how I did that? So then they're gonna say, yeah, no, honestly, like I love the beats, bro. It's just like I mean, 2,000 is a lot of money. Like right now, it's getting near the end of the month. I got rent coming up. Oh, okay, got you. So, um, yeah, no, I get it, bro. So I guess if we did figure out something that worked with your specific budget, just something that you can move forward with comfortably, then could we get started and move forward today? And then he's like, oh yeah, no, do you have like a payment plan or is there a way to break it down? And so now you draw them back in instead of accepting that no as sealing your fate. Okay, so that's how you do the pacing. So the tonality needs to be a lower, deeper voice. Lower tonality carries more meaning. And you see how I pause there? The longer you pause, the more meaning the words had that came before that pause. So whenever you're like, hey, so I definitely get that, man. You're going to lower your tonality and slow down your words. And the reason why is because they're going to catch every word a lot more than if you talk fast and high pitched. So if you the higher pitch you talk and the faster you talk, it makes people think you're either lying or that the words don't matter. Because why would you say them so fast if they matter so much? Okay, so that's a psychological hack right there. So, pro tip: don't be afraid of silent parts. Longer you're silent, the more it puts you in the power position. So, if you're nervous, stop talking. Don't talk your way through your nervousness. Okay. If money is the only concern, and you already framed the call, that's why we frame it, so they're honest with us. So, if money's the only concern, they want the beats, and they actually have money to pay, then they will say so, and you can split it into a payment plan. All right, so that's the sauce on how you get paid. So that's how you get them to agree to paying you. But how do you get them to send you the money? So I'm not going to leave you guys hanging, guys. Steal this framework. So if you guys have your phones out, screenshot these steps. This is the exact steps that I gave Othello when he made 13K plus in a month. So I typically do 1,000 up front, other half in 30 days. That work for you, or would you need to split it down further? And I won't read off the rest, but you can see these are the steps. Okay, so screenshot that. I'll give you guys about 5 seconds to do that. And then there's a replay available for this. Okay. So, but how did Dell get $1,000 up front? You're like, cool. So you can split it into like 500 up front or 350, 250, whatever they can do. But how do you get paid in fulls? How do you get someone to just send you $1,000? Well, either they have 1,000 or you can do what Dell did. So this is using something called Afterpay, and we use Stripe for payment plans. So you go to stripe.com, you can set it up. But in the options, when you turn on buy now, pay later features, Afterpay is one of them. There's other ones too, like Klarna and Affirm. But what this does is it allows the artist to get on a payment plan, but they're not getting on a payment plan with you. They're getting on a payment plan with Afterpay. Then Afterpay lends them the money, and then it sends that $1,000 to you. So you get $1,000 up front, and then they pay it back to Afterpay. So that way you can get the money up front. Okay, so like I said, Affirm and Klarna are also options. And just keep in mind though that you can't use this as a crutch. Like if you use buy now pay later and it doesn't approve typically, it's going to be like a 1 in 5 type thing. So if you're like, oh, I don't need to learn sales, I'll just get them on payment plans. First off, human psychology doesn't work that way. They won't agree to the payment plans unless you do the sales tactics. The second thing is that they're not going to get approved typically unless they have like 650 plus credit scores. Okay. So here's the hack. You figure out what they can do out of pocket first so that you make sure you're going to get the sale. And then you ask them if it's okay to send a buy now, pay later option through. So if they're open to doing it, then you can send that through and then go ahead and get the paid in full if they go through with it. But this way, if you do it the way I'm telling you to do, even if they don't get approved, you still get paid with the in-house financing. So you figure out what they can do out of pocket, right? So So that way they can do like 250 a month, 500 a month, 350 a month, 330 a month, whatever you want to do. And that way you get the guaranteed cash instead of just like crossing your fingers and hoping you get paid in full, because that's going to be a little bit greedy. Okay. Um, I don't want to divulge like everything that I make. Like I make a decent amount, but like just off of recurring payments every month, I make 5,000 plus. Okay. So not new business, just old business. I make thousands a month. And those are not off of getting paid in full. So the recurring stuff is going to come in handy. Like when someone graduates my program, they're typically making thousands a month recurring income without using Afterpay or anything. So these are kind of those little treats that you get for just pitching this, and every once in a while they'll agree to it and they'll get approved, and you'll get like 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000 up front. But don't count on it. Okay, that's everything to do with financing. So if you have questions on it at the end, let me know. But so there you have it. That's all my secrets on sales. That's how people make seven-figure businesses. That's how they sell. All right. So I'll answer all your questions in the Q&A in just a second. Like I hope you guys are taking notes on this once again, because it's a lot of info. But can I ask you a quick question though? And like PS, I'm gonna pitch you something, but don't freak out. Like it's free. Okay, so you don't have to pay nothing. This is a free event. Okay, it's truly free. But do you want to do all of this on your own? Do you believe that you can flawlessly execute everything that I talked about here without any guidance at all? It's fine if you believe that, but a lot of people like to claim that they're self-made, and this is one of the things that it always rubs me the wrong way, because no one is self-made. Like there's no such thing. We didn't learn how to ride bikes on our own. We didn't just jump on with no training wheels, or how to read by looking deep into the soul of a book, into the pages. Like that's not how you learn how to read. Somebody has to teach you or coach you on it. So the greatest players in sports all had coaches. And so if you don't believe that, if you think they're just great on their own and that's how they win championships, take Kobe and Michael Jordan. Like they both had Phil Jackson. He coached them to a combined 11 championships. It's insane. And so what you could argue is that without Phil, they would have had less championships. They still would have been great players, but they would have been misguided and had less results. So for your guys' information, like I actually have some sports background. Like I played college. This was me in high school, but I wouldn't have gotten any college offers without having good coaches. Like I would never have gotten that far. It was just raw athleticism. Okay. So to sum up, like no one is self-made. This is a lie we tell ourselves. So in high school, I remember like when coaches would give me confidence and tell me like, this is what you need to do to get to the next level. You need to work on this. You need to stop doing this. Here's your bad habits. Here's what's holding you back. And they were able to help me to implement that. I had trainers, who've trained like some of the best athletes in my state. And, he's one of my mentors to this day. And so I'm not self-made. And I'm teaching you guys all of this from other people that I paid to learn the knowledge. So I'm not self-made. I want to let you guys know that. So, but many of you guys in here are like struggling right now to get to six figures, to get to 1,000 a week. So you wouldn't be here if there wasn't any struggles, right? So, and honestly, like it'll continue to be a struggle because you're on this journey with no support. Like I know, my family, I was lucky to have some support, but originally there's no support with doing this, especially full time. It's rare to run into somebody who can actually give you some kind of help. So, a lot of bought into the idea that success needs time. So you're like, hey, like I'm gonna be successful. It's just gonna take more time. It's BS. It's not true. Success is the product of the right inputs. So you put in the right inputs, you get the right output. So you got to be pursuing the right things. You got to be putting in the right steps to get where you're going. Otherwise, you're going to walk in circles. So the right inputs, you can make a lot of money fast. If making money is your goal, I assume that's what your guys' goal is. Instead of making a little bit of money slowly. And what I mean by this is that like if you work a 9 to 5, it trains you to work for $10 an hour, $20 an hour, $30 an hour. But that's making money slowly. Like you have to spend the time to get the money. And that's what society teaches us because we need it to have a society. But it's not really real. Like, if you're a salesperson, I was a salesperson and we were bringing in a lot of money for the company, like 100,000 a month for the company, 200,000 a month. So we would get 10% of that. So it's like if you're working a job, you get 10% of what you're worth to the company, typically. So you don't have to make a lot of money slowly. But if you're spending your finite time that you cannot get back, like once you spend your time, it's gone, then working on your own without guidance, you can succeed, but it's not going to be likely. Okay, that's just like the facts of it. It took me 5 years to get where I was at. So wouldn't it be easier to get guidance support from someone who's already done this and helps a lot of producers to do it too? I've helped over 30 producers. If not, like, again, no pressure. Feel free to disregard everything I'm saying. But if you're one of the few who knows that this would help you, then here's what I want to offer you. So bear with me real quick. It's going to be some words. Guaranteed 4 high ticket deals the next 16 weeks, or I coach you for free until you do. High ticket, I mean 1,500. So I can be 1,000 or more. I'll install the automatic artist system for you, done for you. So this is going to line up serious artists that you can hit up. Okay. Oops, I feel like I got a little bit stuck here. Okay. All right. Jump back into it. A little bit of glitch, but I'm going to construct an irresistible offer for you that's so good artists can't say no. So it's not that they won't say no, it's that they cannot say no. So I know a lot about human psychology, so I want to make sure that you have an offer where they all say yes to it 100%. So whenever it lines up to where it's the right offer and they can pay for it, then they're going to pay you. So you have to have the right skill set, you need the right offer, and then you need the right artist. When those line up, you make $1,000 or more. And then last, I'll just give you every cheat sheet, recording of my sales calls so that you can progress lightning fast and make a lot of money fast, right? That's what we're here for. To make 100,000 a year, you have to make it faster because everyone in here is already making money. You just need to make it faster, okay? So by the way, again, I have nothing to sell you today. The only thing that I have to sell to you is a free call. But if you're convinced by the stack of proof and you trust my expertise, because if you don't, find someone else. But if you trust my expertise, we can do a free roadmap call first. So what's a roadmap call? Audit your social medias, listen to your beats, give you a private look inside my high ticket producer mastermind. So that way you can tell like if this is something you want to do or not. Like it's not a good fit for everyone. But you private message me after the Q&A we're going to have in 1 second. And then if you want to take me up on the free roadmap call, just DM me the word roadmap on IG. Okay. And then if this like pissed you off and you're like, oh my gosh, how dare you pitch me something, right? If you don't want it, like feel free to block me, right? Like I'm just here to help you guys out. So if you don't feel like it's helpful, then no worries. It's like no harm, no foul, right? If you do the free call and you end up seeing what I have to offer and you're like, hey, I know you can help me make a lot of money fast, like you've helped 6 students make 2,000 in a single week, then it would be 50% off. Just let me know like, hey, I was in your free live event. I want to do this coaching thing. Then it would be half off. Okay. So that's just a thank you for committing to joining this event with me and spending 2 hours of your evening, because I know it's important to you guys and I wanted to not waste any seconds. So hopefully this was helpful. That was my pitch. Congrats for making it through. So only thing that I have to sell you on again, if you want to call it selling, is a free roadmap call where I'll spend an hour with you breaking down your business and telling you what you need to focus on. So I don't even offer this program to 85% of people who do the roadmap call. So no pressure to join the mastermind. Okay, so that was everything, guys. Want to do the Q&A now? So we can do it a couple of different ways. So you can unmute and let me know your question, or you can put it in the chat. So it's first come, first serve. And yeah, we made it in just under an hour. So there's an hour left. So if you guys can hit me with any questions that you want, and yeah, don't be shy. I want to be able to help you guys. So yeah, if you want to unmute, go ahead and unmute and ask me a question, or you can put it in the chat, whatever works better for you. So Not everybody go at once. While you guys are thinking of questions too, if you found any of this valuable, drop a gem in the gem emoji in the chat. Okay, just want to make sure. All right, Reyes, you mentioned we should try to avoid mentioning price until after we present the offer. What if the artist immediately starts inquiring about price right away? Great question. So what I'll say is I'll be like, yeah, no, the price is really custom tailored. And remember in the triage how I was saying like you want to frame the call as, hey, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Reason is because if they say, yeah, so what are your prices? You're like, well, honestly, I wasn't trying to sell you anything in this call. But if you're more curious about prices, it really is customized if that's fair. So we can always do a vibe session just to see if the beats are even something that you would like, that you would need. And then if it's something you want, then we can package it from there. Is that fair? And then 90% of the time they'll agree to that. Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay. Okay, got you. Cool. Yeah, any other questions? Feel free to shoot them at me.
Yo, so I was wondering, like, what's your favorite way to go about finding actual serious artists?
Yeah. So the way that's been working the best for us is Spotify. So there's a few reasons of how I'd like to think about it. So if you're like finding lead from hashtags, it's just not going to be very convenient because you have producers posting in there, you have artists posting in there, but it's going to be a mix. So it's really hard to like find artists in general, and then people will dominate the hashtags and then you'll see the same five people over and over again. So instead of doing that, and instead of doing promo pages that run drive artists really quickly, we use Spotify because there's millions of artists on there. Number one, and then number two, they're all paying $20 a year to put their music out. So if you're going and finding them from SoundCloud or BandLab or Voicey or any of those sites, what's happening is you're finding people who maybe upload on Apple Music or because they have a subscription there, or they put a music video out on YouTube, but they're not investing that money, so they're less likely to invest in other things. So on Spotify, you get that guarantee. There's the most serious artists on there. So you just make a playlist with a small independent artist in your niche, and then you're going to get recommendations. And so from those recommendations, you can just go and click on them and go to their IGs from there.
Hey, I got a quick question.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so what is the best way about finding, or I know you talk about finding artists in your niche. So do you just find like the most relatable, like pretty much the best producer in your niche, and you just search them up via YouTube, and then you just go through their social
Yep.
media and find their, go through their followers and all that?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's how I do it. That's how I do it. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but that's the easiest one to do it. If you start with a promotion page, then maybe you can find it from there. Sometimes, even if you're like looking up a lot of artists or music related stuff, sometimes you get those sponsored posts from artists that you want to work with, and then you can use those too. But anybody that has a link in their bio that leads to Spotify, that's what I'll use as like the first seed to start that my lead generation from. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
yeah, I get what you're saying. You wouldn't so much use Apple Music either, too, right?
I don't know how to do it on Apple Music, and also I don't have a subscription to it. Like I know Spotify, you can use it for free, so that's what I've used. But yeah, you may be able to do it on Apple Music, so I would just test it and see what works best for you. But Spotify's been what I set up all of my students with, so it just works a lot easier than doing like the hashtags, the promo pages.
Okay, gotcha. Appreciate that.
Yeah, most stuff, man. So, I know I want to hit Ilya's question too. So, he said, "Hey, man, really appreciate your input. Looking forward to actually get on students program in your future. But what's your charge?" Yeah, so it's really is custom tailored. So if you're interested in that, then usually what I say is like, hey, let's hop onto a roadmap call first. And that way I can break down your business and let you know if this is even something you want to do or not. Because like if it's not a good fit, I can point you to other coaches. I can point you to other resources. But yeah, it's like if it's really is just custom tailored, man. So yeah, if you're interested, just message me on a roadmap so that if we do find like a fit, then it'll be 50% off. Cool. Okay. So Ray, as you said, what if the artist says they're used to paying after the song's recorded? Yeah. So that's a huge one, right? So the way that artists will generally work, the way they're used to working, is with producers who do not know how to do business. And so you got to realize like the way the music industry is set up and the way the movie industry is set up is similar. So most actors, even if they get paid work, they don't get paid what they want. Like most actors are broke. And then there's a reason why the term has been coined broke musician. It's because the industries have been set up to screw over the talent. So like there's no other industry you can go into where you go and do amazing work up front, the song comes out exactly how everybody wants it, and then no one gets paid. Like I've been stiffed on so many records, right? So I'm gonna tie this back in, I promise. But like you gotta think like that's how people are used to doing it. It's like I'll pay you later type stuff. Um, it's like no, we're gonna set up an actual business, get paid up front. So just don't feel bad about letting the artist know how you run your business too. So if they say like, oh yeah, I'll just pay you after the song comes out, you're like, okay, cool. Well, yeah, I know most people work that way. I typically just do a one-time fee up front, and that's it. So that's just how I run my business. So you want to set a precedent for that. Now, when it comes to selling on the call, one of the things that you can do is frame it this way. So you're like, hey, it's like a beat back, right? So you're selling like if you sell licenses, then you can say like, cool. So it's like 5 beats for $500. Like that's a pretty popular one with my students. Or you can even do 1,000 one, like Billy did $1,000 for leases. So you're selling $1,000 and they're like, cool, I'll go and write, I'll release the songs, and then I'll pay for it later, right? That's what they say. So you're like, okay, cool. Well, typically I just do it up front. Um, now, if if for some reason you can't release the songs, because I want you to release 5 songs, I don't want you to have buy 5 beats. I want you to release 5 songs. If for some reason you can't release them, like you can't write to them anymore, release them, just tap me on the shoulder, let me know, and then we can go back through my site and find better fits so that you make sure you're releasing the songs. So if that sounds good, we can customize it, but is that fair? And so you're trying to reframe it so that you get paid up front and you're guaranteeing that they're not going to misuse their money on an investment because they can always come back and get new beats from you if they weren't something that they can release. And so hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, just keep in mind, like if you're like, hey, they're just getting free beats because I can't take a beat back. Like they can't actually swap them out. Yeah, you're basically giving them free beats. Here's the reason why it doesn't matter, and this is what I learned from Gummy Beats. He makes 6 figures. He was like, basically, you're selling air. Like a digital product is selling air. You have no fulfillment. So it doesn't matter whether you give them 1 beats or 1,000 beats. Like if you are selling 1,000 beat pack for $500, all power to you. Like go for it, because it's anything to make them comfortable enough to buy from you. You want to make sure you're giving them more value, not less. That's what's going to get them to buy. Okay. Um, okay. You said that makes sense. Cool. Awesome. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Feel free to unmute, go for it. If not, feel free to drop it. Typical price point your students are selling customs for. So custom beats, I don't really like to go, for me, the lowest I'll go is like $800. But yeah, usually it's like 500 will be like the lowest you go. So like I just had a student get his first sale for $500. Now, what I prefer doing is just them doing as low as like $150 a month and then keeping the price at 1,000. So you build up that recurring income, if that makes sense. So I don't typically like dropping below 1,000 because it's the math. So when someone comes to me and says, I want to make 6,000 a month, well, if you wanted to make 4,000 a month, just sell $1,000 beat a week. But if you want to make 6,000, now we should probably up the price to 1,500 so that we don't have to work harder to make more money. So the cool thing about high ticket is so Ryan, you can sell it for whatever you want to do. I like to break my students' beliefs down. So I like had one student who joined in and he sold his first beat at 500, and then I said, okay. He's like, you think I'm ready for 1,000? I said, I think you're ready for 2,000. And it is he's really struggling with that because he's like, how do I know my beats are worth 2,000? And here's the thing. Um, it's worth what you say it is because it's art. It's subjective. There's no objective price that a beat is worth because it's a digital product and it's art. So they're not paying for your time, they're paying for your expertise. So you can put whatever price you want on it. And here's what I use to control it. On one end, you have what the market will pay. On the other hand, you have what you're happy with. And if you get those to match up as closely as possible, then the artist is going to be super happy. You're going to be super happy, and then you're good to go. But as long as they're paying it, I'd say I recommend hiring your price. So like Ian, like charging 1,500 when he came in was normal for him, and so I was like, okay, cool, let's bump it to 2,000, right? Because 1,500 is easy for him. So it's all about your mindset around it. So if you're offering, for example, 5 beats for 500, what if they try to get out of the high ticket model and ask if you can do just 1 beat for 100? Yeah, so trying to drop price through reducing value. Yep. So here's like one of the things I like to do whenever someone wants to do a leasing model. I go into BeatStars, unless you're making thousands a month from low ticket on YouTube. I go into their BeatStars, and then what we do is get rid of MP3s, get rid of waves, and then change your unlimited track out from 100 to 250. So for one beat, it's 250 bucks. And then you just do something like, hey, it's buy two, get three free, something like that. So the reason why I want to change the pricing and get rid of the other options is whenever they give that objection and say like, oh, I just want it one, then you're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I typically only do like one for 250. So if you're trying to do like less than that, I'd probably give you like 3 beats for that. But otherwise, if you picked out 12 beats on the call, it's like, I'm comfortable giving you all 12, 500. But then you want to, so you throw that out there and then you're like, hey, so, but was money the only objection, or was it that you just absolutely didn't want the other 11 beats? And then what are they going to say? They're like, oh no, it's just the money. Like, I want the beats, but it's just the money. And then you figure out that it's not a value objection. It's a price objection. So it's either going to be value or price. And if they're getting value from the beats, then you just focus on price. You destroy the value objection. You're like, okay, cool. So it's really just if we figured out something that works with your budget, then I could send you all 12 of these today. Right? Hopefully that makes sense, man. Okay, cool. So what's your biggest revenue come from? Ready to go beats or custom beats? Yeah, I don't like selling my beats exclusively. So the reason being is my downsell is to $1,000. So if they don't want my high ticket, like I sold a $3,000 for 3 customs, and then my downsell would be to do $1,000 for the beats that we picked out. So the reason why is like when I frame the call, I'm like, I like to pick out 5 beats that we want for sure. Reason being is that if they don't want the customs, then I can downsell to a lease pack and do $1,000 for just leases. So I never have to sell it exclusively. So I have all of my like beats that took me like 2 weeks to make that are just amazing beats. Like they're like, I think all my creativity comes from God. Like that's what I personally believe. So there's some beats that I couldn't recreate if I wanted to. So the reason is I like to keep those up on the site and replay the same ones to preview. And then unless the price is right, I won't sell it exclusively. I'll either make it from scratch or I'll downsell to the lease pack. So great question, Ilya. That's a great question, bro. And if that's not adding up, just put a bunch of question marks in the chat and I can explain it a different way. But yeah, any other questions?
Yeah, I just had one question. So you do leases and not just exclusive or customs.
Yep. Is that your question?
Yeah, because I always go, think about doing leases and just doing exclusive. So I
Yep.
didn't know if it's okay to do, just exclusive and not leases or just both. So yeah, so I guess all right. So it's cool to do
For sure.
leases for I guess high ticket or kind of like
Mhm.
reasonable price, I guess. I'm not sure.
I mean, yeah, you can charge whatever you want, man. So like it depends on how much you want to make. So Jeremy, when he sold those $2,500 packages, he sold two in a month at 2,500, and nothing was exclusive. Nothing was custom either.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So it's all about like can you solve their problem so well that they're willing to pay whatever for it. So like if you go to a doctor and your leg needs to be amputated, it's like, hey bro, I'll do anything to get this pain to go away. So like if the artist's main problem is they don't have somebody in their corner, then you make a package around that. So that's what Jeremy did. And so he has like one of his sales pillars, he calls it perpetual partnership. So basically, they get unlimited access to him so that he can help them to grow their artistry career. So he'll give them like A&R help, he'll give them writing help, he'll like help them to master their stuff, and then he'll also give them unlimited access to his catalog of beats as well. So they're getting like support to help grow as an artist because they don't really have an A&R, they don't really have a manager, they don't have a label, that kind of stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Yeah. So it's all about solving their problem. So whatever they're telling you, it's like you kind of want to be clever enough to like solve that problem by putting it into your sales pitch. So if you hear like I remember being on an artist call and they were like, man, like I really need a team. Like I really wish I had a team. And so I was networked with this guy, Michael, who works for Love Renaissance Studios in Atlanta. And I was like, well, I know this guy. He charges like 200 for a mix and master. I charge 1,000 for custom. That's an 80% margin. So I was like, hey, so I know you said her name was Marie. So I was like, I know Marie, like I know you said you need a team. So what I can do is give you access to my team, which includes Michael, he's a mixing and mastering engineer. So I go and use the same wordings to sell later on in the call. That kind of makes sense. So that way, whatever they're looking for, as long as you're selling it ethically, they're going to be like, oh, okay, this is what I would actually be looking for. Because as long as they're getting like accountability, support, value with the beats, you're able to make something custom for them. Whatever problem you're solving, as long as you deliver on what you promised, then sell it essentially, and then make sure you sell it at a high price so that you can make a lot of money.
Okay, gotcha. Makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, good question, man. So leasing, you mean selling one of the same beat forever to different artists? Yeah, yeah. Leasing means that you can sell it to other people. Now, when I do a lease, I always make sure it's unlimited, so I can break that objection of them being like, oh, I don't need a lease. So if they want it exclusively, the problem is I can never lease that again, and then I don't know if I'll be creative enough to make that particular beat again. I don't make a lot of beats, so I prefer to lease if they don't want to do something custom. Um, custom I can charge a lot for. Leases I can charge relatively a lot, like 1,000 I think is a decent amount. And yeah, the problem it's solving is that they want to make more music, right? So if you have something else you can throw in with the leases, like some mixing and mastering or some other kind of services that you can throw in, then try to sweeten the deal. But the main thing you're solving there is just like, hey, you want to work with me specifically and you like my beats. So it's all about the personal brand. So if you're like hiding behind logos and that type of thing, don't expect to be able to pull $1,000 for a lease. Maybe it's like 250, but whatever beats they pick out on the call, I make sure they're like for sure want them, or they're like, hey, maybe I can write to this. And then it might be 3 beats, it might be 20 beats. I'm throwing them all to them, and I'm trying to get anywhere from 250 to 1,000 for that whole pack. So hopefully that answers your question.
Are you still collecting royalties from all these ones you sell?
I don't personally. I got my royalty check, my last royalty check from ASCAP. It was like 99 cents. It was like literally like $1.
That's
So
Do you
crazy, bro.
mention that to them?
what was that?
Do you
Oh,
mention that to them like before you sell?
yeah. So here's the thing. There's a fine line because like some of them know how the music industry works, and so if they're like, "Yep, I know you got to get your back end royalties, and I'll even give you some master royalties." Like, so if they want to do the right thing, then fine, go and take 50% songwriter share, 50% publishing. Go ahead and do that, and then maybe they give you some master size. Now, if they're not very educated on how the music industry works, I don't even mention it. Like, because
Okay.
yeah, because it's just going to bring up another objection, right? So if you're like, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even do royalties, and they're like, oh, like what are royalties? Like, I want to make sure they're not screwing me over. Like, are you like taking my masters? And they don't even know what a master is. So I just don't bring up things that don't need to be brought up.
Yeah, I was gonna say because your beats are pretty high ticket, so I
Yep.
was just wondering like if you also gained royalties as well. But all right, appreciate.
Yeah, you can though. Like, yeah, you can for sure. I mean, if especially if you know the song's going to have marketing behind it, you know it's going to do some numbers, like a few thousand, at least. Then it's like, sure, take some on there because I've had independent artists do 100, 200, 300,000 streams on record. But if you know they're not putting anything behind it and they just don't know how to market, like, I mean, when's the last time you worked with an artist who was like a really good marketer and like knew how to go viral and they knew how to run ads and they know how to network with the right curators? I mean, it's just like really rare. Most people don't know how to market. So if it's not going to get marketed, I mean, I've had major records that generated no money, like no public performance royalties because they shelved the record, like they didn't put any marketing budget behind it. So yeah, if the artist knows their stuff, I just try to be respectful and not clash with them and say like, sure, like whatever you feel like giving me, like, hey, that's fine. I really appreciate it, but I know it's not going to do numbers. But I don't want to tell them like, hey, I know your record's not going to do numbers because they're going to be insulted by that. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. When it comes to royalties, something else they might ask for is something in writing. Like, you got to realize if they're like, I've sold stuff where it's like 4 days ago they didn't know who I was, they didn't know I existed, so they may not trust you. So if you're like wondering, scratching your head why they won't move forward, sometimes you need a license agreement. So you can download one from BeatStars, you can look it up on Google and download like a template. But if you have something that's like signable with your name, something you can email them over or put, different info in as a doc file, then you can send it to them so that they trust you enough to buy from you. Because like sometimes you hear something, you're like, wow, that's amazing, I want that. But when it comes to moving forward, there's something in the back of your mind that's like, is this a scam? Like, are they trying to like, are they actually going to make a custom beat for me? And then it's going to keep them from moving forward on the call. So that's why trust is important. Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah, I just got one more question. How do you usually preview your beats on the call? Do you play it, or do you like send them a link and you listen together?
You can do it a few ways. I like doing it through Zoom. So if you do through Zoom, you can just hit the share button. And then once you hit it, there's a checkbox that says share sound. So it's not the best. You might have to mess around with the settings to make it better, but it plays it really clearly for just being live. So I like doing that, and then I'll just head over to my BeatStars and because that's where all my beats are hosted on, and I'll just play from there. But you could have it on Google Drive, Dropbox. You can have it on your computer and preview it from there. It doesn't really matter. The other way to do it, Javon, is to get something called Muse. So if you look up like Muse online, like I think you might have to type in some other words to get it to pop up. But what it does is it's designed to like create live for musicians, but you can use it so that even if you're like on a phone call, you can shoot them a link and then they can hear your beats in like crystal clear audio quality through the phone call. So they'll like join in through a link and then they'll be able to hear it straight through the speaker. So that's what Ian likes to use, and it works really well. So if you're like don't want to show your face on calls and stuff like sales calls, you might try using Muse. But if you don't mind, then Zoom is probably the most straightforward one.
Oh, okay, I think I heard of that before.
Okay.
So, okay, I'll definitely check it out. Thanks.
Most def. Okay, Ryan, you said what's the threshold for pushing for the close on the call versus sending a proposal through email? If you can't overcome, I need to think about an objection. Yeah. So great question, Ryan. So when they say I need to think about it, you got to realize like people don't need to spend time to think about something. When they say I need to think about it, it's because they don't know how to make a decision. So I used to do this like whenever I would shop on Amazon, I would go and research a product for like months and months and months. Then I would put it in the cart, and then it would just sit there for like 2 months, and then I was like, man, I'm already gonna buy this. Like, but it's like there's nothing left to think about. I just didn't know how to make decisions. So you don't need more time to make decisions. You need more information. So if they need to think about it, it's because there's a value objection. Whatever you present, they didn't see it as valuable enough to move forward. So what I'll say, I won't say like, oh, what do you need to think about? I'll just agree with them. I'll be like, oh yeah, for sure. Thinking about it's absolutely fine. What was the issue like where the beat's not good enough, where you had to kind of think about that, or was it like money, or what was the issue, right? And so ideally, you would have already figured out what a potential issue would be before you drop the price. But if they say you need to think about it, then either they're not a good fit, or your offer's not good, or somewhere in between. Like they don't know to make decisions. So you figure out what the underlying issue is, and so they might say, I'm trying to think about the last time I had to think about an objection. They're like, well, it's a lot of money, and I'm not sure if it would be like most well spent here. If they say something like that, don't get offended. You're like, no, I definitely get it. So, you're basically like, what's your biggest fear? It's like if you were to pay for this and then not get your money's worth, essentially, or like I would just like not deliver on what I promised. And then what happens is they might say this. They'll be like, oh, no, Ryan, like, I know you would deliver on what you promised. I'm just trying to think about, like, if this is exactly what I need. So you're like, okay, so you're comfortable with moving forward as long as you knew it's exactly what you needed. They're like, oh, yeah, for sure. So then what you're going to do is you're going to revisit what you talked about during the call. So if you figured out what their pain point was, maybe it was that they felt like they needed to put out an EP because it's just going to validate to themselves that they could, have like a holistic thought on something they could translate into music. So sometimes that's it. And so you're like, yeah, no, I definitely get it. So, well, if that's what it is, I know you were saying that you wanted to prove to yourself that you could put out an EP and it have like a full thought or whatever their objection is. And so whenever you say something like that, basically you're appealing back to what's going to internally drive them forward. Because if you go into salesperson mode and you're like, what do you need to think about? And then they're going to put up resistance. But if you go and revisit why they wanted to do it in the first place and just say like, okay, got it. No, I definitely see why you need to think about it. Remember you were saying like you wanted to get started with writing in the next week or so. So I guess like was that still on the table as far as like, hey, after a week, if you're thinking about it and it's still you still feel good about it, then you're 100% moving forward, or was there anything else that was the issue? So you're trying to like isolate it. So basically, once you've isolated it, they're like, nope. The only problem is, I just need to make sure this is the right decision. But I really want to work with you. But I just need to think about it. They just keep saying that. Then maybe you can't overcome that objection, and you don't want to break the rapport because then they're 100% not going to work with you, and they're going to be like, oh, he's just an a-hole. So in those situations, I'll be like, okay, cool. Well, I tell you what, like what we could probably do for today is just like a refundable deposit. So I typically just do this to make sure that you are really like wanting to move forward once you're sure. And then that way, if you're not sure after a week, just let me know and I'll send it back. How does that sound? And then if they keep putting up resistance, what you want to do is keep revisiting it. And here's what I like to say, because this is what I found. If someone won't even put down a penny towards a refundable deposit, meaning for any reason you'll send it back at any time, then it means that there's a problem with the value. They don't see your thing as valuable. And that's perfectly fine. You can't get everybody to buy. Like they have to want to buy, right? They have to want to do it. So that's why we're persuading them. We're not convincing them. But if there's a value objection and you cannot solve it, then that person's not closable. But if it's not value, if it's just like, oh, I'm just kind of like scared of moving forward because I've never worked with a personal producer before, and I just don't. I want to make sure my money's well spent, or I want to make sure that you're actually going to deliver on this. Then maybe you send them a license agreement and that solves it. But while you're doing that, you're going to want to get something down. So at the very least, get like $100 as a deposit. So if they're still fighting you on the deposit so much that you can't get it without breaking rapport, then just set a follow up call for the next week or the next few days. So hopefully that makes sense, Ryan. But if they are 100% not going to do a deposit, then you're like, okay, cool. And you're just saying you need to think about it. You think you need to think about it for a year, or is a day okay if you need to like sleep on it? And then they're going to say like, no, I don't need a year. I probably just need a night to sleep on it. Cool. So how about we do this? I'll just go and shoot you a link for tomorrow, the same time work for 10 minutes. They say, yeah. And then you go and set the follow up call for the next day so that you get some kind of commitment. If they won't commit money, then maybe they'll commit some time to at least talk through it. And then if they actually show up to that call, you'll have a lot higher chance of closing the sale out on that call. Okay, cool. Cool. Glad that was helpful, man. Yeah, the think about it objection is really hard because you don't want that objection, basically. But if you do get it, it's usually because we probably weren't aware of what they really were needing and we didn't pitch the right way, or we pitched too soon, and then they're gonna fight on moving forward because they don't see the value. All right. Any other questions? We still got 30 minutes, so feel free to just like hammer away at questions, and I'll do my best to answer them.
Yeah, I just got another question.
Go for it.
So like for necessary like apps to have, should you have Calendly, Stripe, and is
Yeah.
Afterpay like an app to download, or is that
Uh,
something to sign up for as well?
it's not like whenever you sign up to Stripe, then you can go into the settings, and where you're setting up like bank accounts and stuff like that, you can just scroll down and then it says buy now, pay later, and you'll just switch it on. And what you do is you just make an account with all of those ones, which is like Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm, and then you'll be able to utilize those. So the way it works is whenever you make a link, instead of making a payment plan, like let's say 500 a month, you just do it for the full price, $1,000. And then when they go to check out, you'll see the pay later option so that they can get a loan out and do a payment plan with the loan provider, which is Afterpay or Firm, Klarna, and then it'll send you that 1,000.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I didn't know that.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, but Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to set it all up for free, Stripe's free. The way they operate is based on fees, which, payment processors are always going to take a fee. Um, and then, yeah, Zoom, if you don't want to do the paid version of Zoom, they do 40 minutes for free. And you might run out of time on Zoom, and then it'll close you down, and you can just shoot them another link. You just send the artist another link. So you can do that until you get a first sale and then pay for Zoom. Or you can use Google Meets or integrate Calendly with just a regular phone call. And then those would be the free ways to do it. Yeah, and then Calendly is free as well. Some people like to use Typeform, but it's just unnecessary. Like I've seen a lot of 7, 8 figure businesses and they don't even use Typeform. So just use Calendly. It's free and really simple to set up. So, but yeah, I'd usually recommend spending like a day on a weekend and just getting everything set up with the business stuff too. Yeah, so Ryan, you dropped that. So what I use to analyze like all of my students' calls is Fathom. So that's what's recording this call right now. It's not Zoom, it's Fathom. And so you might see it says like Kobe Beats Fathom Note Taker. So it's an AI note taker. It's free for life. So make sure you guys go and grab that. But what it does is it records your call, then it splits it into sections. So if you're trying to analyze your own calls or you become a student of mine, then I'll go and look through your calls as well. So I can speed it up, go through each section, and it would say like Ryan, Javon, and Kobe were talking about using Fathom to break down sales calls at an hour and 38 minutes. And so that way you can clearly digest the sales call instead of having to listen to, the whole 60 or 90 minutes back. So Fathom's a super powerful tool. Okay, cool. So yeah, other than that, you don't really need any tech. If you have like a DM script, then you can go into Instagram, into your like creator or business tools and controls, and then you can go to saved reply, and you can go and put in all of your different replies that you want to do for your script, and that way it'll make your workflow a little bit faster. All right, cool. So all right, awesome. So if anybody wants to take me up on the roadmap call as well, so if you're still here and you've been mind blown by the value and you want me to help you scale your business up, make 1,000, 2,000 a week, just DM me roadmap, and that way you can take me up on that free call and we can connect a little bit on a more like private level and see if like the program's a good fit or not. If it's not, no pressure. So does anybody have any other questions that we could go over? And then if not, no worries. I'm not holding you guys hostage. So if you need to head out, feel free to. But yeah, once again, like super excited to be able to help you guys out in any way, shape or form. So yeah, if this was helpful in any way and you need like some more input and you're like, hey, like I would like to, work more privately with you and I know you can help me, then just DM me a roadmap and we can go ahead and do that call. So Nathan, yes, this is recorded. So yeah, DM me for the recording link and I can send it to you as well. Absolutely, Ryan. Absolutely, Ilya. Yeah, thanks for joining in, bro. I know it's super late for you as well. Yeah, yeah, absolutely cool. Yeah, so if you guys need anything, you know where to find me on IG. And then if anyone has any other questions, feel free to share it now in the chat or forever hold your peace. How about that? And I'm not kicking people off. If you want to just like be in here just like as a for the last 20 minutes you have other questions, feel free. I'll give it about 30 seconds and if nobody has any other questions we can wrap up.
I just got one last question, man.
Go for it, man.
So yeah, so I do make like a lot of soulful sample beats. And I do like to dig for samples, so I do find like a lot of, like treasure samples and make beats with them.
Mhm.
So should I always like disclose that to the person I'm trying to sell to? I know
Yeah,
sample clearance is a
yeah,
thing, and I hate to
for
like,
sure.
get into that, but I mean that's kind of like, that's kind of like a big part of my
Yeah,
production. But I mean, I know as a producer, you shouldn't, you can grow beyond that and just be better. But
yeah,
I kind of like the, where it kind of got me to where people like my beats. I kind of like to keep that soul sample type of thing going.
yeah.
So
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it either. Like, if you feel like it's a massive problem with them asking for clearances, like, you can just use TrackLib, use Splice, and then they're pre-cleared. They can't, or they can't ask for royalties or whatever. Um, that now, I don't really see it as too much of a problem. Artists can, but if the artist is getting 2,000 streams a month, and they're like, man, like I'm really worried about being sued. So first off, like for them to sue over your 2,000 streams, I mean, unless you're like making 1 million a year or something like that, they don't care about you. If you're getting like hundreds of thousands of streams or millions of streams on a certain song that blew up, then yeah, you probably want to get it cleared at that point. But yeah, there's really only a few situations that can happen if the label figures out that it hasn't been cleared. So situation one is they don't figure out. So they're not watching like a hawk and running like, scans to see where the samples are at. Now, so that's usually what happens. The song doesn't get big enough. It doesn't blow up enough for them to figure out. So that's situation one. So it just wouldn't matter. Situation two is they figure it out and then they decide that they want a cut of it. So at that point, basically, when the way the song is going to get registered is they take whatever percentage they want of like the master side public performance royalties. So I've done that before where I worked with an artist and he knew how to clear samples. He cleared a Summer Walker sample, and then they just took 50% of the mechanical royalties. So that's situation number two, and then third is they get pissed and then have you take the song down or like sue you over it. And I've never seen that happen. Like I've never seen it happen. Like worst case scenario, they might ask for some money up front or take a split or maybe take the song down. But if you already got millions of plays on a song and had to take it down, guess what? You got more audience as an artist. So how is that a losing situation?
yeah, think about that. I know a lot of people out here are still doing it, so I didn't
Yeah.
ever necessarily see it as an issue because I mean, it's people are still doing it, but yeah, that was just a question I had because that's like
Good question.
it's like the juice of my beats, man. So I really don't intend to stop.
I mean, they sell really well too, man. So, yeah, I'd recommend just keep doing it. If it's like a mental thing where you don't feel like pitching it or you feel like everybody's saying no, it's like you can always use TrackLib. But yeah, if you're just gonna keep digging through crates and using those or kind of like ripping them from YouTube, like it's fine. I mean, David does that. Kofi does that in our program. Othello does that. They all make tons of money. So, yeah, it's no harm, no foul, in my opinion. But if the artist sees it as an issue, I mean, it's really hard to convince them. But if it's just fear, if they're like, man, like I don't want this to happen, then you'll just go and use those situations and say like, hey, either they don't figure out about it, they do figure out and take a cut, or third situation, they get really mad and try to take the song down, but they're never going to sue you over that because there's nothing to sue over, and it's like more expensive for them to even file a lawsuit than it would be to just settle it privately outside of courts, anyways.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I like to look for those samples that nobody has, like
Yeah,
track
yeah,
live, like so I'm kind of like on that type of time. But yes, it's all good. That was my question.
yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, 100%. So, um, well, yeah, yeah. I don't know if is there any other questions like we still got 19 minutes. If you guys have anything else that would be helpful, I'd be happy to share with you. If not, no worries. But I know I see Mark, you're in here, and Reyes. and then you, Javon. So like if you guys have any other questions, feel free to shoot it. And then if not, then we can wrap up. It's all good.
Nothing I can think of at the moment.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. So, yeah, with that being said, like, hey, thanks for joining in, guys. Like, if you want the replay, DM me. Yeah, absolutely, Rez, man. No worries. So, yeah, DM me for the replay, and I can shoot it to you guys, and make sure you get that so you're equipped with that, and it's going to be through Fathom, so you'll see how amazing Fathom is. I hope the live event and the Q&A were super helpful for helping you to build your business. I've seen producers who make thousands a month just from that video, but if you're like myself, then you know that information alone isn't enough to actually help you to get results. You need help to implement these things step by step so that you can see results as fast as possible. This is what my students know, and this is why they've gotten results a lot faster than other producers who wait years to actually see real change. So if you don't want to be a statistic like the producers that took 10 years to be able to go full time, and you want help to implement this strategy, I want to be able to help you. I offer one-on-one private help. I have a community of like-minded producers that show their wins and give support to you as well. So if you don't want to lose in isolation and you want to win and be in an environment where you see other producers winning as well, I want to be able to set up an offer that's validated and already selling beats at $1,000 or more. I want to set up your lead generation pipeline so that you can easily find serious beat buying artists. And I want to sell the first beat entirely for you on a call so that you can see that this system actually works. So if that's interesting at all, book a free roadmap call. The link's in the description or in the pinned comment, and I can hop on for free, give you consult, help you with mindset, and give advice on if this is actually going to be the system that helps your beat business or not. So book the call. The link is in the description or the pinned comment, and I will talk with you soon. YouTube says you'll like this video next, so make sure you click around the screen where you see the video at, and I will see you in the next one.